Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And I was just reading here in the book of 2 Thessalonians, the third chapter, and came across, something that, just wanted to speak on, right? An exhortation, right? As it says here, an exhortation to proper living. All right. And this is something that, every now and then is important to, just speak on and to exhort, the believers. And it's something that even Paul, right, dealt with, with the church of Thessalonica, and the fact that you could potentially, have individuals that, believe in this truth and have a mindset, right, toward this world as, just giving up or being idle, right, just because that this world, is temporary, right? That the fashions of this world are fading away, right? And ultimately, as we get closer and closer, that we're at the end. There's a dangerous mindset that can sneak in, knowing all those things, which is, just basically just giving up on life, right? Or giving up on living properly, okay, and becoming idle, right? And that is something that really would be a detriment to yourself, and then can also become a burden unto, the body, right? Or to the, the brothers that you are, around. Because if you have that mindset, that which is not a bad mindset to have, because obviously we are at the end, but just because we know we at the end doesn't mean that you just go out and just live a complete shitty life. All right. Because that's not proper living. And at the end of the day, we are in training mode, right? Or in a position to where we want to make ourselves presentable to Yahweh Shai as being deserving, right? Even though we know we're not really deserving, but our actions want to show forth that we can be faithful over the few things that the Lord gave us. Okay, whether it be starting first and foremost with this gospel, pushing out this ministry, this truth. Okay, then also if you have a family, right, as a man being the head of that household, having your household in order. Okay, if you having a job, okay, so that you can pay for the things that you need, getting your daily bread. All of these things, right? Even taking care of your body, right? Taking care of the temple of the Most High. And that goes into, eating well, right? Being mindful of what you're taking in, okay? And also, physical activity as well, because, for myself, I can say that I sit down majority of the day at my job. So, as we, are getting older, right? Your body is going to have start taking effect. Are you going to start seeing the effects on your body for being your metabolism slowing down, or just certain ailments and pains and things of that nature? If you're not taking care of your body, you're only going to just be exacerbating those things. So you want to be diligent in all aspects, right? We are supposed to be well-rounded individuals, mentally, spiritually, and physically. All right, because like I said, we as being the men, right, the hopeful elect, and being a part of that hopeful 144,000, we want and desire to be the judges of the kingdom to come, right? We are desiring to be the joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. Okay, and if that's the mindset that you have, then you got to show that on this side, right? And like I said, that goes into being living properly. So I'm gonna read this here in the NLT. It says, and now, dear brothers and sisters, now a lot of times in the NLT, they'll put brothers and sisters where it's just brethren. And this can also apply to the fellow believing sisters as well, right? But as we know, this word, this truth goes to the man first, because the man is, who the Lord voice is called unto, right? Believe that's in Proverbs. My voice is unto you, O sons of men. But for the sisters as well, right? Those that are single, and also those that may have husbands. Okay, you have a duty to live properly as well. So this is like I said, applies as well to you. So it says, now, dear brothers and sisters, we give you this command in the name of our Lord Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Stay away from all believers who live idle lives and don't follow the traditions they have received from us. Okay, so idle lives is something that can even happen within, the truth. That's why it says from all believers. So there are certain qualities that, as a believer, right, you're not supposed to be exhibiting, right? And one of those qualities, negative qualities, is being idle. When you go into this word idle, it says avoiding work or lazy, without purpose or effect, pointless. Spend time doing nothing. Okay? You're not supposed to be spending your time doing nothing. Not being lazy. Now, there's you being lazy when it comes to the work of the Lord, which is, very detrimental and can put the wrath of the Lord upon you. But then you can have somebody that, does the work of the Lord, but then they spend their time on themselves, right? Or they don't spend time on themselves, right? They don't live, a life that is proper. And really, if you are somebody that is diligently serving the Lord, that is, going to transpire and mirror in your actual life. Okay? Because it's a mindset, right? You can't, disconnect the one from the two. If you're a diligent person, you're supposed to be a diligent person all the way around. Okay? And how, like I said, you serving the Lord, and how you taking care of yourself, and even how you look. Now, we're not all, just caught up in trying to be the, pretty boys and look, be appealing, right? But you should still take care of yourself, right? You should still have a sense of dignity and pride in how, you look. That was something that my father always taught me, just growing up, right? You don't want to go out the house, right? There's an old Jake saying from the South. That's where my parents are from. Looking like who done it, right? That's what they used to say, right? You looking like who done it, meaning what? That you just looking shabby, looking unkept, and that once again isn't a mindset of a man of the Lord. Because think about when John the Revelator saw Yahushua, right? He was decked out. Now, of course, we don't have the means in the the means to try to have a golden belt, right? But Yahushua in the heavens, when he come back, he gonna be looking, hey, beautiful, right? Even when Isaiah saw him, he said, "Who is this, right? That is traveling in glory in the greatness of his strength, right? Glorious in his apparel." Okay, that's his physical appearance, right? But also, the chariots that he's gonna be in is gonna be glorious, man. See, and the bodies that we're going to receive are going to be beautiful. The Lord says He's going to beautify the meek. So that mindset should be already in you. That's why Yahweh said that the kingdom of heaven is within you. That should already be a mindset that you have. Okay, so reading on. So it says, stay away from all believers who live idle lives and don't follow the traditions they received from us. So because what? That type of vibration can carry, can be rubbed off on you. Somebody that's lazy, right? Somebody that spends their time doing nothing. You around that person, and you will end up spending your time doing nothing. Why do you think you see people jake in this world, right? That smoke weed. They hang around people that smoke weed, and when you smoke weed all day, you don't do shit, right? You don't do anything. Hey, the movie Friday shows you that. Okay, Smokey, which is played by Chris Tucker, he had Ice Cube just not doing shit all day. I mean, he ended up getting fired, but he had Ice Cube not doing shit all day, but just smoking weed. And then what ended up happening? They ended up getting into trouble, and that's the thing, right? That old saying that the devil's an idle mind is the devil's playground. So you want to be occupied in prophecy, and when you're not occupied in the work of the Lord, right? Hey, being occupied in things that are beneficial and bettering yourself, right? A man of the Lord and a woman of the Lord should have very little time to just sit and do nothing, right? That's something that, I'll be trying to force myself just to, relax and not do anything because I'm always doing something. And it is, laborious, it is tiresome, but you want to stay active so that you don't get into that mindset of being lazy and just sitting around and not doing anything and being unproductive. And then as that, like I just said, then that idle mind, you start to, get involved right into things that you shouldn't be, or start to, Satan could, start to try to seep in on that idle mind, not do, giving you thoughts or giving you ideas to do something that you typically wouldn't be doing, right? You get idle. Some people, they like to eat junk food, okay, when they're idle, right? Oh, I'm bored. Let me go get a snack, right? So, just reading on, it says, verse 7, for you know that you ought to imitate us. We were not idle when you were with us. So Paul is once again giving this exhortation, saying like, look, this is how we were living, right? You should be following in his footsteps as well. And even our elders and our apostles and the bishops, right, and the elders underneath the apostles, they all showcase that that example and that characteristic as well, right? You have one of the elders, his channel name is On the Job, right? And he literally does videos on, in his car. I don't know if it's a work vehicle, but while he's on the job. So you work, and brothers have done that. We've done that. You do lessons while you're at work, okay? Because our main job and our main, labor is the labor of, the love of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai and teaching his truth. But yet, as even Paul is saying, yeah, we do that, but we also actually work with our hands. That's what Paul said, right? Reading on. Actually, let me pull this up here. You know what? Let me read till 10 and then I'll pull that up. It says, verse 8, we never accepted food from anyone without paying for it. We worked hard day and night so we would not be a burden to any of you. And that's something else, man, right? Because yeah, you have a body, your brothers, and we all are supposed to be charitable and be there for one another when brothers is in financial holes, or brothers need assistance or things of that nature, right? The scripture says that two is better than one. However, right, you don't want to be that person, or you shouldn't be that person that is always right in a financial issue. Now, we all are in financial problems, right? I'm not saying that brothers is rich, but if you're not working, then you're not even doing anything to help yourself. Okay, and the brother elder, the elder Shai in our camp, he always talks about being willing to use the treasury that we have to help brothers that want to get a different skill set, right? Or pay to go, get a different skill set. So that way you are learning something that can benefit you, a long term. not just looking for, a quick, easy fix. All right. And that's why Paul is saying that we worked hard day and night so we would not be a burden to any of you. That's a mindset that you're supposed to have. You shouldn't want to be burdensome to brothers, right? You shouldn't want to always be looking, for brothers to help you, because yes, brothers are here to help, right? Because we all going to need it at one form or another. But when you are constantly doing that without any regard, right, to let me stop being, let me go try to, do something to help myself, it can potentially become burdensome. So that's why as Paul is saying this, right? Verse 9, we certainly had the right to ask you to feed us, but we wanted to give you an example to follow. Okay, because Paul spoke about that. If I sow unto you spiritual things, should I not reap cardinal things? Right? So he is saying that, like, we're doing the work. We're, feeding you this knowledge and wisdom. Okay, we're giving you, the words that will edify you and build you up. Okay, so we have a right to ask you for food and shelter and water, but we're not even doing that. Okay, and that's something that, once again, the elders and apostles have showed us, because you have certain camps that they're boldly, right, with no regard of no shame. They were like, oh, send those super chats, right? Oh, make sure you hit the Cash App. Doing this for filthy lucre's sake. They'll sit while in the middle, or they'll give you part of a lesson and say, if you want the whole breakdown, then you got to buy it from, you got to buy the whole breakdown, or you got to buy prayers, or you got to buy, a Hebrew name. We'll be, we're being life coaches. Okay. For $500, you can get a one-on-one session, right? That's completely wickedness, man. Completely wickedness. All right. The scripture says to buy the truth and sell it not. You're not supposed to sell the truth. As freely as you receive, freely shall you be given. Now, if the listeners, believers want to help, right, want to donate, then that's something that that the Lord put on your spirit, or you have in your spirit to do. Then that's something that we gladly and graciously accept. But it's never to where we're going to go out of our way to say, oh yeah, hit the Cash App, right? Or send the super chats. But you do have individuals, and it's always interesting because the people that do that got the biggest followers, right? And they got the biggest amount of supporters and people that are giving them the money. But at the end of the day, that goes to show you, as it says in Jeremiah, that not Jeremiah, I think it's Micah, that they prophesy for hire, right? Or they teach for hire, and you have our people that love to have it that way, because they think that gain is godliness. So they think that, oh, if this individual, this bishop or this leader is rolling in dough and money, and he looks good, and he has all of the swag and nice, clothing and garments, that he must be a man of the Lord. So let me, help him get to that position, or whatever code goes in their mind. So why they're just willingly giving out, money every time they get being asked for it. But that's another story. Reading on, it says, verse 10, even while we were with you, we gave you this command: those unwilling to work will not get to eat. All right. So those unwilling to work will not get to eat. And that is an important aspect of being a man, right? And being a man of the Lord, that you cannot be willing, all right, to not work. That is not a proper way to live. All right. There are certain traits, certain virtues that being in this truth and having this wisdom and knowledge, it should be exhibited in your day-to-day life, even outside of doing lessons, right? Even outside of, doing videos, it should be exhibited in how you live. Okay. The Lord said that we're supposed to be a light unto the world. That light is something that's not a light that you turn on and off. It's supposed to be a constant light. And it's supposed to be shown by just your conduct, how your anastrophe, your behavior. You see, especially now that we're in these times, these evil times, right? As the scripture says, redeeming the times because the days are evil. You know, uh, you're quoting another scripture. Paul said, "If it be at possible, if it be at all possible, be peaceable with all men." And I say that because when you're out in the world, right? This truth is you're supposed to be walking right in this truth. It's not, like I said, it's not just something you just do when you're doing a video or when you're listening to videos. Okay, so when you're out in the public, there's certain ways that you're supposed to carry yourself. If you're going to, do something, or if you're going to go between somebody, right? Say, excuse me, right? Somebody hold the door for you, say thank you. This is proper, proper living, man. Right? Not being quick to get into arguments. If somebody does something that you feel is wrong, hey, just let it go. Then what especially if it's some stranger, what's the point? What's going to come out of that? And like I said, especially in these evil times, people there are demons that are on people that are just willing and ready to fight, right? And it's not just a fight. It's they're trying to kill people. They're trying to kill you. Even within your own households, right? The scripture talks about not being a lion in your household. If you got a spouse that is a non-believer, guess what? Satan can hop on those individuals as well. And you end up getting into an argument over something. Hey, you know what? You got it. You got it. My bad. That wasn't my intention. Right? Be at peaceable. If it be at all possible, be at peace with all men. Because that is a proper way to live for, like I said, for yourself. Because we're already dealing with spiritual wickedness in high places, right? We already, got our mind, we're already vexed with the filthy conversations of this world. So why add onto that burden, right? Why add onto the vexation by, being so quick to get into confrontation with people? Because like I said, we're living in a time where people are very quick to snap, man. Quick to snap. And you're seeing it all the time, man, where you have family members offing each other, right? People getting into fights, at the grocery store, getting into fights at the old folks' home. It's crazy out here, man. So this is an exhortation to live properly. Yeah, so let me get this here. I wanted to read this excerpt because this was good. It says, Paul was writing about idle, unproductive, irresponsible people who refuse to work. Paul explained that when he and his companions were in Thessalonica, they worked hard, buying what they needed rather than becoming a burden to any of the believers. The rule they followed was those unwilling to work will not get to eat. There's a difference between leisure and laziness. Relaxation and recreation provides necessary and much needed balance to our lives, which is nothing wrong with that, right? Finding time to relax, finding time for recreation. It's all a balance. You gotta find the way to balance that, but you also shouldn't be idle. Always, your provision, okay, your forethought, that's what the word provision mean, shouldn't be, I just don't want to do nothing, right? Your provision should be, let me take care of everything I have to do, okay? Making sure I taking care of my necessities, right? Taking care of the work of the Lord, taking care of, my household, taking care of my own body, okay? Making sure my bills are paid for and all these things. And then you relax. It says, when the time comes to work, however, I'm just going to say believers in Yahweh Shai should jump right in. We should make the most of our talents and time, doing all we can to provide for ourselves and our dependents. Rest when you should be resting and work when you should be working. That's right. Okay. Rest when you should be resting and work when you should be working. And not solely looking to depend on others, man. All right. A king, a ruler is somebody who people can depend on. All right. It's not, always, think about that saying, the difference between a boss and a leader, right? A boss commands people to do things. A leader shows, right, people how to do things. By their action. That's why Peter spoke about being in an example unto the flock, how we're supposed to live. Let's read this one. It says, an idle person who doesn't work ends up filling his or her time with less than helpful activities like gossip. Yeah, so you got that, right? You got people who don't work, all right, or work minimally, and then they spend their other times just, in busybodies, busy in other man matters. Where in the book of Sirach, it tells you, meddle not with many matters, for he that meddleth much will not be found innocent. Okay? You got your own life and own things that you should be dealing with, right? You should be trying to grow in the faith, grow in the knowledge. You shouldn't be over here spending your time worried about what somebody else is doing. And the only time you really are paying attention to what somebody else is doing is when you're marking that person, right? And I'm speaking about as men of the Lord, marking them so that the other, right, so that the sheep can be aware, right? They can be aware of, okay, this false doctrine or this false teaching. And that's when you really see the true man of the Lord only really talks about other individuals when it comes to the doctrine. We don't talk about their personal lives and, what car they bought and, what they do for a living and all that. No, only time that comes up is when it's concerning the doctrine of the truth, because we are set to be at defense for the ministry, which is a part of the labor. That's a part of the work. Okay. Where Salakia? Let me see. Yeah, it says rumors and hearsay are tantalizing, exciting to hear, and make us feel like insiders, but they tear people down. If you often find your nose in other people's business, you may be underemployed. Right. Okay. You got too much time on your hands when you just always in somebody else's business. All right. So let's go back here. Verse 11, it says, yet we hear that some of you are living idle lives, refusing to work and meddling in other people's business. So this is something that Paul dealt with, right? People that refusing to work, being idle. And like I said, there's a balance to that. There is a line between knowing that this world is ending, right? Being a pilgrim in the earth, right? Being a user of the world, but not an abuser of it. And then also just be completely, frivolous, right? Completely, just lazy, not trying to do anything, all right? Or not being proper in your way of living. You can know that this world is ending, but still take proper precautions day by day, man. You work. Also, you save money up for a rainy day. You don't just blow it as soon as you get your check talking about, everything's about to be over anyway. Let me go get a credit card and max it out. Because we all at one point thought when we came into the truth, right? Whenever you thought the world was going to end that same month. But hey, it's on the Lord's time. And while we're on the Lord's time, we have to do right what is proper. We got to be faithful over the things that the Lord gave us, because all of that is being accounted, right, for you being somebody that the Lord can entrust with his kingdom and his orders, right, his affairs. And you can't have your own affairs in order. How you think you gonna be able to be looked at as being somebody that can be responsible for holding the affairs of the kingdom of heaven in order. All right. So, that's pretty much it. Lord willing, I'm in it there, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. And until next time, Shalom.